News Radio 600, Kogo.
The Internal Revenue Service, oh, you know, the IRS.
Our favorite people.
Yeah, it's warning you to be on the lookout for unscrupulous return preparers. One of the most common dirty dozen tax scams seen during tax season.
Kyle Walters is the founder of Atlas Tax Advisors. And Kyle, how do you spot a bad tax preparer?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, the biggest things that you want to do, just in keeping in mind that most tax preparers, the vast majority are doing a great job for their clients, helping them file their returns, save them money, and doing a great job. What we're looking for is to making sure that small minority doesn't give everybody else a bad name. So the biggest thing that taxpayers can do is when they're taught, one, get a referral from a friend that's been using their preparer for a long time, is very happy. That's a great place to start. Make sure you ask them if they have what's called a preparer tax identification number, so they can actually file your taxes. Ask them about their credentials, their history, and then, one thing that can be a red flag is ask them how they charge in their fees. What you see a lot of times is people come and they say, well, I'll need to charge you a percentage of your refund. That can be a red flag just because they may be more aggressive than they need to be with your tax return in order for them to make more money themselves.
Okay, so what are some of the other dirty dozen tax scams for 2017?
Yeah, so the Dirty Dozen is a list the IRS puts out every year, right, that talks not only scams, but just kind of what's on their list of what they're looking out for. So the biggest scam, it seems like, and it has been for the last few years, is email phishing, right, or phone phishing. So it's important to start and saying, well, how does the IRS communicate with individuals? Well, one thing they don't do is they don't send emails requesting your personal information. They don't text, and they don't use social media. So if you're being communicated in that manner with the IRS, it's probably a scam. The IRS uses hard mail, right, so normal letters in the mail, but phishing is a really big deal. It's becoming more and more important to make sure that you're not putting out your personal information out there.
Man, that's really scary. Now, we have a lot of taxpayers who file their taxes and then they put them in and then they discover that somebody has already filed and cashed a refund check. How do people get that information?
Yeah, really you don't need a ton of information to file somebody's refund anymore. Or to file somebody's return. So that's why it's just that much more important to not be putting out your information any more than you need to, especially around tax time. If you've got your Social Security number and other identifying information, these scammers, they go and they will file your return. So you may go and, try to file with the IRS, and they're going to say, well, we've already got a return on file. Then you got to go through the process of unwinding that. Now, you'll still get your refund that you would normally have gotten. It just takes a little while longer. All
right, so give us some tips on how to avoid becoming a victim.
So the biggest tip is be very careful with your information. So, you hear a lot of this where you get a call and somebody says it's the IRS and they want you to wire money and all that. The IRS does not threaten imprisonment or fines or any of those things via phone, internet, or at all, frankly. So the biggest thing is if you have something that seems a little bit off, make sure you do your research before you start going down that line, assuming it's the IRS. The majority of the time it's not.
Oh, okay. And so now what are some of the other things that we can do? Because if there's a dirty dozen scams, there's got to be about 12 things that we need to not be doing.
Yeah. Well, so it's funny. A lot of these dirty dozen are actually not just things that you should watch out for as a scam, but things that as individuals, as taxpayers, we should not be doing. So, for example, underreporting your income and a lot of these, overstating deductions. So those show up on the dirty dozen as well. So it's really just what the IRS looks out for as a whole, not just for us, but they're looking at us as well. So in addition to making sure that your tax preparer is doing everything on the up and up, making sure that the stuff that you're filing is as accurate as it can be, and that you got all the organization and documents on file that you need. And then from a scam standpoint, another big thing is, these scammers, they're starting to go after HR departments and other small tax firms trying to get client information on a large scale. So that's become a really big deal, that sometimes this information can be released and it wasn't even by you.
All right, Kyle, thank you so much. Kyle Walters, founder of Atlas Tax Advisors, giving us some good advice during this tax season.